Ladies and gentlemen, the play's the thing with your host, Judy Sleed. Special guest, Margaret de Rouleaux, Chair of the Social Action Committee of the Jewish Center of the Hamptons. Now here's Judy.
Oh, thank you, Lee. No one can say that better than you. Hi, Margaret. It's so nice to have you on my show. Now, I would like you to really pronounce your name correctly because I just never know how to say your name. I know Margaret, but the other part is so French.
You know, it is. And a lot of people can't pronounce my name, including me. But no, the thing that is funny about it, because there's an X in it, I think everyone gets confused. In French, E-A-U-X is O. Oh. So if you ever see E-A-U or E-A-U-X, the pronunciation is O. So it's de Rouleaux.
De Rouleaux. Mm-hmm. It's not de
Rouleaux, no, it's nothing.
It's nothing to do with Rolex.
No, and in fact, I get catalogs. You know, you get those crazy catalogs, and it comes to the Rolex. You know, yes. I only wish, but no, it's Margaret de Rouleaux. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I hope I'll remember next time because I just call you. Hi, Margaret, you who?
It's fine. Yeah. It's okay.
You turn around anyway. So what brings us together today mainly is that huge yard sale that we're going to have at the Jewish Center in East Hampton. And I think you have a little to do with that.
Unfortunately for me. Yeah, I'm the chair of the Social Action Committee, so I get to chair this event. This was founded, I think it was 2003, by Andrea Ackerman, who was a member of the Jewish Center, and she had an extraordinary idea to have a yard sale for people in need in the Hamptons, for the food pantries, to make sure that people in our community could have enough to eat. So she was very cleverly put this thing together, and she went to one of her dear friends, who was Stephen Gaines, who's the author. And actually, he's the author extraordinaire. And he named the yard sale because it was going to be so spectacular, the yard sale extraordinaire. And the name stuck. Tremendously clever, and it is stuck. Andrea had lots of friends and lots of people who were well-to-do, and they donated some extraordinary things over the years, you know, to the sale, which raised a lot of money. And all the funds from the sale go to help the food pantries. It's not a fundraiser for the Jewish Center, it's a fundraiser for the community. So each year we try to redo what we did the year before, make a little bit more, hopefully. So now it's 7 years later, and Andrea's gone on to bigger and better things, and I sort of inherited the chair of this. And and while I nothing can compare to the work that she did, I do my own thing. So we actually have a great committee, and we're really doing a lot of things. So we got some great stuff this year, really, really good. So you've been working with us, so you know.
I know, it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
To put things here and there and look at things and look at this, what is this, what is that?
It's interesting, you know, they say about these sales that, you know, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Yeah. And yet we have gotten some real treasures. We've had all those beautiful French silk clothes, brand new. You know, when we have pricers, we have sorters, we have vetters, you know, people going through the stuff saying, yeah, we can sell this. No, we can't sell that. So we've become very selective with the merchandise that we have.
And it's amazing how much stuff people bring in. I mean, even the sale is just a few days away, and people are still bringing things in. It's been like 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, every day for the last month. And in fact, the sale is August 8th on the grounds of the Jewish Center. And we've had the really good fortune to have been given classrooms at Most Holy Trinity School in the village. Doreen Caranto and the Monsignor there were so generous to us. When I said to her, Doreen, where are we going to do the stuff? We used to store things at the Jewish Center. There's no room. We used to store things at my company, at Good Friend. We're out of space, except for a couple of rooms that I put aside for furniture. And so Doreen said, well, you'll come to us, because we work on so many projects together in the community. And generously, they've given us 4 gigantic classrooms, which we've managed to fill up.
Yes.
It's amazing. So we now have to do the logistical nightmare of moving everything from Most Holy Trinity over to the grounds of the Jewish Center. It's only around the corner. It's not too
Yeah,
bad for
but you
distance.
still have to move it.
You have to move it.
Yes.
So we're hoping to have some volunteers with pickup trucks line up to help us. And we have my truck, and if need be, we'll hire another moving van or something. But we do have an incredible array. My guys just picked up furniture today. I haven't seen it, but I know it's sensational. And rugs. We have a Persian rug. Really
It's amazing.
Stuff, so.
And also, of course, when people come, they'll get terrific buys.
Oh, absolutely. We're
Terrific.
pricing to sell.
Yes.
And we're hoping people are going to come and buy. Just to remember that it is for a very good cause.
Oh, I'm sure people love to come and buy.
Oh, yeah. They're lining up. They're
Yes.
shopping at the big. Lining up.
Yes. We're
very
going to have
funny.
to give them numbers. You first, you second.
Well, that's the thing. You know, we can't open by ordinance in the village until 10. But
Yes.
they can line up before that, and they
Yeah.
do. So we're
Yes.
hoping we have a nice sunny day. We will have refreshments for sale. So there'll be cold water available and things like that. And we're hoping people come nice and early, get their dibs in on the good stuff.
Yes.
And some of our sellers are very creative, and you'll see very nice displays. And in fact, the clothes, we have a tent, you know, the clothes will be in a tent. We're going to overflow that tent.
I know last year you did too.
Yep.
It is, it's too bad it's only for one day. It's only for one day.
It's too bad, but I don't think anyone would survive more than one day. This is the thing, you know, we start talking about it, you know, we're all getting along really well. The committee has been sensational. The volunteers are terrific. And we all laugh, which is a good
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
And, but people do get tired. I mean, I find it very interesting that we have mostly women working on this.
That's
notice that?
right. I haven't seen any guys.
No, just a couple of people I've hired, you know, for moving purposes.
Yeah.
And occasionally a gentleman will come by and say, "Can I help you?" And they do. We've had a few.
Really?
And, but the bulk of the help is
It's
from
from
women
women.
who are not only sorting and pricing and doing all the things that women
But
like doing, but they're schlepping and carrying and hefting. I mean, boxes. We
Yeah.
have so many books this year.
Yes, I noticed that.
And kids stuff, the toys, beautiful toys,
Yeah.
and lots of nice children's toys. I mean, children's clothes. Very, very nice.
Well, I'm quite certain that you, with all this knowledge, that you went to school for this.
No.
To college.
No, I
You
went to
must
school
have
for 19
attended-
years, but I did not study any of this.
No, I thought perhaps you went to college to how to do
For
yard sales.
You know, it's funny about this. I'm not a yard sale person.
Oh.
You know, I don't go to yard sales. I have enough junk in my house. I don't need to go.
I'm the same way. I don't go to yard sales. I get rid of things instead of.
The problem with yard sales, I think, is you'll go to them and all of a sudden you'll see something you absolutely must have.
Yes.
Then if you go to 10 yard sales, that means you're going to have 10 things you absolutely must have. So in addition to spending a lot of money ultimately
Yeah.
on bargains, you have more stuff.
Right.
And what do you do then?
But it's a funny thing that happened today. I saw stuff was coming in that I went out and I spent money in the store.
You said that. I know.
Yes.
You just bought binders and things and then
Yeah.
2 big boxes of them.
Yes. Yeah.
I know. It can be a killer.
So
I think that's what,
I'm not gonna take any more from there or buy it because I have enough. But you know, I just have no patience to go to yard sales and pick out the things I
know.
want.
But I will suggest for anyone who gets to see the show, for people who are watching beforehand,
Yeah.
you'll find stuff there that you know that you need. Don't go to the stores yet to buy it. Come to the yard sale and buy it.
Because there's everything.
Yeah.
There
We have
is-
office supplies.
Yes.
We have a couple of printers. We have a fax machine. We don't have a
and
lot of
everything
electronics.
for the kitchen.
Lots
Everything
of stuff
for the kitchen and
Lots of linens,
and whatnot, and furniture.
lamps.
It's
Yeah,
great.
It's really great.
So, where are you from, Margaret?
I'm from New York.
The big city?
Yeah, I was raised in Queens.
Oh, Queens, yes. And you went to school in Queens?
Yes, I did. My mother was from Wales. My mother was a war bride. My parents met during World War II. And after the war, my father sent for my mother, and she came here to marry him.
Oh, how
Yeah,
interesting.
it's a real love
That is
story.
real love.
Yeah,
Yes,
real
it
love
had to
story.
be.
My mother was from a very small town, and I don't know how she had the courage to, get on a boat. They came back on the troop ships. A lot of the women who met GIs during the war, and she came, alone, with other young women, and she got off the boat in New York, and she turned to my father and said in her best Queen's English, "I'm not staying, you know." And he said, "But I bought a house." We bought a little house with a GI Bill.
Yeah.
So she said, "Well, let me have a look." And she was 20 years old, and
When he already bought a house?
yeah, he knew that he was going to marry her, and he had his mother and his sister living there, and everything was all on the up and up. And my mother liked the little house, and she married him. And they were married for a very long time. My father passed away right before their 50th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
But it was a real love match. But anyway, I grew up in Queens, but I went back and forth to England and to Wales as a child. My father promised my mother that if she married him, she could go home whenever she wanted.
Oh.
So she took me and my brother back and forth. And he came too. We went on the Queen Elizabeth, and we flew, and all kinds of ways to go back and forth. So I had the chance to do a little schooling in Wales as well as in New York. But basically, I'm a New York girl.
So your father was from Queens?
My father was from New York.
New York.
Yeah.
So how did he get that name,
His
French
family,
name?
his family was from Louisiana, Sulphur, Louisiana. And his father, who was one of those jack of all trades kind of guy, he was a blacksmith, he was a leather maker, he did all kinds of things, left his family in I think it was a place called Port Charles, or is it Lake Charles? It's one of those areas that you always see in the news now because of all the damage that's happening there. And he came up north, and he met a nice Irish girl, and my grandma Lucy, and he married her, and he stayed in New York. And then my father was born in New York, but the bulk of the family lives down south.
So do you ever go down south also?
No.
No, you never did go.
When my father retired, he was young when he retired, he moved to Florida, which he saw as a southern state, and loved it. He loved Florida. And, but I've never really, I know relatives from the South, from Louisiana, but I never went to stay there or be there. I'm sure it's, fascinating, and there's a whole cultural thing. You can go on Ancestry.com and look up all this stuff, and find out about your heritage. But because my mother was such a Brit, so Welsh, we felt more British. That was, our family was oriented that way, across the pond.
You cleaned that way.
We leaned
more.
that way, rather than south.
This way, yeah.
Although when my mom and dad moved to Florida, my mother loved Florida too. My mother passed away last February, and she lived there till the day she died. She loved it. She lived in Florida, I think, longer than she lived in New York. She loved it. So they were Southerners.
So what type of food did she make? Mostly British, nothing from the Louisiana?
No, and I know British food is much better now. But my memories as a child of food in Britain was just dreadful.
Really?
The only thing I liked was the cream crackers and cherry tomatoes and cheese, and butter was very good. But I didn't think, it was post-war, they were still getting on their feet when I was a kid. So I didn't think the food was that good. But anyway, and my mother was a good cook, not to say she wasn't. Roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, but very, very traditional.
I used to make Yorkshire pudding.
Did you?
I remember, yeah. It used to rise up, but then so quickly it went kaplunk.
You got to eat it before it does that.
Yes, I remember I bought some sort of an appliance, and it came with a cookbook, and one of the recipes was for Yorkshire pudding, and I was, young, married, and then, my husband just liked it. Roast beef and Yorkshire pudding.
Yeah. It was delicious, but she'd make that. And my mother also made very, very good Italian food.
Oh.
Go figure. I mean, she was good. I mean, all the Italian friends my father had say, would your wife make her spaghetti and meatballs? It was the best. Really, really
And
good.
now the million-dollar question, how did you happen to come to the Hamptons from Queens? How did you end up here?
I was working in public relations in the city. I was at graduate school, and I wrote a book.
You
Well,
did?
3 things going on
You
at
wrote
once.
a book?
Yeah. And my book was being published, and I was finishing graduate school, I was getting my master's, and I said, I want to leave. So I had a friend who had a place out here, and I was planning to open a little business in Bridgehampton based on something to do with my book. And the only thing that happened was financing, getting money. It was in the late 70s, early 80s. It was so hard to get a loan. It was impossible. The rates were like 22, 23%. It was crazy. And I didn't have any backers. And I wanted to open a clothing store. And I had written a book on natural fiber clothes, and I had this whole plan. I had a name of a company, I had everything ready to go, but I couldn't get the money. But I moved out here anyway.
Anyway.
I mean, it's kind of a funny thing. My husband has always said to me, I was not married to him at the time, but he said since then, when you have nothing, buy a railroad. He said a lot of the famous entrepreneurs used to do that. All of a sudden, like Vanderbilt said, we run out of money here, let's get a railroad. Yeah. And it's a funny kind of a thing. You have to sort of throw yourself into things sometimes and just do it.
So you had written a book about fabrics?
Yes, about clothing.
A whole book?
Clothing and health.
How many pages can you write?
4 or 5. It was a very small book with a lot of pictures. No, the book's name is Dress for Health, the New Clothes Consciousness. Everyone was eating everyone was eating yogurt and worrying about exercise and everything. I said, now let's write about natural fibers and clothing, how clothing affects your health.
Is it still in the bookstores?
I don't think you can get a bookstore. You can certainly get it on Amazon, but you can also, there are places that still have it. I even have a couple of copies kicking around somewhere.
You
but
should
it
have
was,
brought it with you. We could have showed it.
Well, what I
to
should do is I should redo it now and bring it up to date, because it was published in I think 1980. So things have changed, and more people would agree with it now. I had a very nice blurb from Buckminster Fuller, who said, "I wish I had written this book." I had Gloria. I think Gloria Vanderbilt gave me something, and Diane von Furstenberg, because she was very into natural fibers and wrap dresses and not constraining your body and things like that. So that's what the book was about.
Comfortable clothes.
Comfortable clothes.
Oh, I'm all for comfortable clothes. Yes.
Yeah, it's important.
And may I ask who was the publisher?
Stackpole Books in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
In Harrisburg.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you
they
another
publish
story.
books elsewhere besides New York.
It's remarkable. Harrisburg, where the heck is that? But the day I got the letter from the publisher that they wanted to publish my book, which is a very, very big deal.
Of course,
It was my
it is.
birthday, March 27th. The next day was the 3 Mile Island disaster in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, when that nuclear power plant almost melted down. So they sent me a letter saying, we want to publish a book. This is the name of your editor. Next day, bam. Harrisburg is going to be wiped off the map.
Oh, gosh.
But it wasn't. And, you know, within a year, everything was back to normal, and they did publish the book. And I think that publisher has now been bought by Rodale.
The Rodale books.
I think they own that company now.
Well, it must have been a thrill.
Oh, it was very exciting. It was very exciting.
Did you send out a lot of query?
Yes.
No?
Yes, I did.
About 100?
Less, but a lot. You know, all personalized. And, you know, in those days, in the 70s, late 70s, we didn't have the kind of computer ability that we have now.
Yes.
You know, now you had to type it on a card and put the card in, and, you know, all these technical things, and code this and code that. Now, of course, it's much easier. Now you can self-publish and do very, very well. But in those days, it was like a whole other way of doing something. It's 30 years ago now, which is remarkable.
Did you ever think of becoming a designer?
I did a few little sketches in the book. You know, it's funny. I started out as an artist, and my paintings were relatively successful for a while. And the only thing is, with being an artist, is you really have to have a second, third, and fourth job in order to be able to live. If you expect to, you know, pay your rent. So I had some skills as a writer, so I got a job as a writer. And so
You got a job as a writer, where?
I was with a public relations firm.
In New York?
Yes.
That was before you came out, or you were?
Before I came out.
Or you were traveling back and forth?
No, I did travel back and forth in the very beginning. But before I moved here, I worked with a big firm.
And you have a beautiful daughter.
I do. Yeah.
And what is?
My daughter is going to be a pilot.
A pilot.
Yes. She's,
And you're going to fly with her? Is it safe?
I have to. You know, does a mother have a choice?
No,
You know?
no.
She'll have her license hopefully by the end of the summer. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
She's been
look
doing.
all these
she loves
things
it.
I'm finding out about you. I've known you for years, and you're keeping everything a secret.
That's what I do. So yeah, Rebecca's out here too, and she's flying, and she's hoping to pursue that more as a career. She's also a great musician, and I know you're a musician as well. So one of these days we'll put the two of you together.
Yes,
and you
we'll
can
make
dance. Beautiful music.
beautiful music together. Yes. Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
She's
Yes.
pretty good. So.
So how did you get so involved with the Jewish Center?
I had a couple of friends who were active there, and one of my dear friends, Gloria Milner, was practicing for her bat mitzvah, and I was so impressed with what she did. She was learning and studying and chanting, and I said, well, let me hang out here a little bit.
Yeah.
And then a granddaughter of another dear friend, Evie Moschetta's a granddaughter, Rose Haber, was also studying for her bat mitzvah. And it was so moving to me and so lovely that I started studying as well. And Myron Fenster was our rabbi then, and I studied with Myron Fenster and learned some Hebrew and studied, and then I got involved. And then next thing you know, you're doing yard sales.
Yes.
Funny thing about that Jewish Center, you know, it gets you involved. You know, you really have to end up working or something, whether you like it or not. But this has been a great adventure. And our Social Action Committee is very active in the community. We're good friends with everybody, and we're working hard to make sure that people have what they need in the community. And very thankful to the congregation and to Rabbi Zimmerman and the Cantor Stein and Shelley Lichtenstein, the educator. Everybody is so good and helpful, and we have a very nice place to work. And even if you're a volunteer worker, which most of us are, it's really, we have a very, very beautiful experience there. That's how I met you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also interviewed you last year on my couch.
Yes, you did. That was for the video that we made, the 50th anniversary video. Yes.
Yes.
It was great.
But you're telling me different things now.
I just make it all up.
As you go along. So the yard sale is this Sunday,
Yes.
August the 8th, is it?
Yes,
Only from 10
till 3.
to 3.
Yeah.
That's
Get
a
there
very
early.
short time to get rid of all that schmata.
Nice schmata. I mean,
Yes,
come on.
yes.
No, we do have those beautiful designer clothes, but it is a short time to sell all the things that we need to sell. So that's why we have to encourage people to come.
Yes.
You know, people really need to show up with their pocketbooks and their cash and their credit cards and their checks. We take all of those things
Yes.
and buy.
Buy,
And come and negotiate, but basically,
Yeah.
it's for such a good cause.
It
If you see how happy the pantries are, when we send the grants, we do a little grant writing thing around the holidays. When we send the checks and they get funds, that they really, it's often the money comes in when they need it the most. In the winter, there's less
Yes.
work, people don't have jobs, things are cut back. When they get that money, it can mean the difference between a family being able to feed their kids that week or not. So it's really significant what we do. This is not just for fun. This is for real. This is a
for
real mitzvah.
It
And
is,
that's what
yes.
we like to do. And we have, look, we're all laughing about it. You know, we're
Yeah.
exhausted, but we're still laughing.
It is. This is the first time I volunteered, and it's just wonderful. I really like it.
Yeah, you're making
Yeah.
friends, and
Yes.
people are great. I mean, everybody's getting along, which is pretty remarkable. You
Yeah,
know, you put a bunch of women together around a bunch of clothes. How are they going
Yeah.
to get along? And they do.
There was no fight so far.
No fighting. We don't allow it. And we also, you know, we learn to share, and we're learning to help each other. We're certainly doing that. There's a lot of
So
that.
anybody who's listening to this and wants to volunteer, just come and sign up
Yeah.
for next year.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, give the name to the Jewish Center, and you know they'll put you
Yes.
on our list so we can have help for next year. We're going to need it. If this
Right.
gets bigger, we're going to need it.
And if not for that, we'll find some other things that you could do.
you can. If you can knit, you can come join Mitzvah. If you can sew it all, join the quilt next. We're making quilts for wheelchair-bound people, particularly veterans. Fabulous
And if
project.
you don't know how to do it, we'll teach you, right?
You know, I don't know how to do it. They let me iron. Let her iron. She can't sew. So it's great. You know,
Yes.
we sit with some very nice people who are so willing and caring. This is a really, really.
It is
You feel so
great.
good doing these projects. That's why you're doing it.
So it is a pleasure. It was so wonderful to chat with you.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
And we'll just continue doing things together
Yeah,
for the synagogue, for ourselves, for each other.
absolutely, absolutely. It's really a pleasure, Judy.
Yes.
Pleasure to know you.
The same here. See, I learned a lot about you today that I didn't.
I know you're keeping a book.
Yes. Yes.
It's from my old publisher.
I wanted to talk to you about that. I've been asking the rabbi and some other people, because I have this children's book. I would like to make some money, and I just don't know how to go about it.
What kind of book is it? Like kids' books, pictures, art? Did you do the art?
No.
And it's,
No, but it's mine because I self-published it, so the publisher, I have they
You
gave
have
me
all
back
the
the
rights?
rights. Yes.
Oh, so you have.